I feel like the writers of Arthur have just given up at this point. DW's new best friend is the first segment of the third episode of the 24th season of Arthur. That's the third and final episode of the 24th season. Very short season. In fact, I think it might be the shortest. And DW and Bud are making puppets. And initially I thought, okay, maybe Bud has come back to Elwood City to visit DW. Maybe he's staying for a weekend or something. But at one point, DW actually says, and I quote, he lives down the street. No, he doesn't. He moved in the last season. So I got really annoyed. In the previous episode, or 2 episodes ago, Mr. Morris was in it. A couple of episodes before that, in the previous season, Mr. Haney was in it. I feel like they don't know their own show. And yeah, I've been binge watching Arthur, so I've got all of this in my head. But when you're writing for a show, it's your job to know, or animating, it's obviously a silent character, it's kind of your job to know which characters you can work with and which ones you're not able to work with. And it's just, I have no trust. I have no trust at all. The actual episode itself is not too bad. DW and Bud are going to this puppet making class, and the teacher is a teenager, and DW initially doesn't like her. She's called Hannah, and then actually when they find out that they have something in common, DW becomes obsessed with her, which I think is something that quite commonly happens. It's not unusual for younger children to look up to a specific older child or teenager, and want to be like them. And we see DW kind of morphing into her in her own ways, which I have to say, from an animation perspective, it looked wonderful. I loved the design of DW's hair and her clothes. It was just laughably funny, but also quite realistic. I've seen young children going through similar phases, and it's quite amusing. But actually, DW is quite heartbroken because Hannah calls her new best friend, which DW thinks will mean that they will get to hang out together and spend time together and go to sleepovers together, which obviously is not going to happen. And she's got a big lesson to learn, that big kids tend to not spend time with little kids like that. But Hannah also has to realise that maybe she's hurt DW's feelings by misleading her, even though that was never her intention. Her only intention was to be nice to DW and make her feel like she appreciated her, but it kind of backfired. I liked how it developed. I loved DW's song. DW has a song that she sings, and actually, it was really good, and it was really catchy. So while I got really annoyed that Bud was back and apparently living down the street, there were actually things in the episode that made me maybe like it a little bit more than I was assuming I would end up feeling. So it's not a bad episode in all, with some good messages in it, and it's very well animated. But I can't get over the fact that Bud lives down the street. He lives down the street. That was the exact quote. I honestly, when I saw him, I was like, that's not normal. He shouldn't be there. And then I thought, oh, it's fine. He's probably just having a sleepover or spending time there. And then DW said he lives down the street. I got so annoyed. I know I shouldn't get this annoyed by it, but it just annoys me because me as a writer, if I have an inaccuracy like this, people will be so quick to point it out. So I feel like I have to do the same. No, I don't. But it just means that I'm always on the lookout for issues with narratives, whether I want to or not. And this one is the most blatant inaccuracy of them all so far. Nevertheless, DW's new best friend is a good episode, but it's also kind of annoying.